You also did a lot of security in the adult industry, correct?
Oh yeah, yeah. There was a lot of crossover. I was the head of security for Grindr for a while, and that was it's a gay dating site, but the there's a lot of weird problems that. So Grindr, like one of the things about it is it was designed so that way if you walked into a bar, a straight bar traditionally, then it would tell you that there is another gay man in proximity to you within a certain radius. So the utility of the program all exists in a proximity sense. And that, as you can imagine, that comes with certain safety risks as well, because if I was targeting, homosexuals, I could just do it via that application. No, I can say like, oh, within 20 feet, there's a person here. So there's a huge trade-off in usability because we developed these geo boxes. You basically bake, like the old school maps, how they had like a squares, and you'd be like, oh, Franklin is at 3-5 or whatever, or A5. That the same type of there's an algorithm to box the world out in the same way, and you can change the resolution up to, you can go down it's called a geohash, but you can go down to inches, centimeters, whatever. Micro to macro, yeah. And so, but we found usability wise that whenever we would make this bounding box a little bit too big, the customers would complain about the usability. Like, I can't even use this app because it's not doing what I told it to. And so it's a very interesting case study in what the users want and like what, as a security person, when you would actually recommend in this case, because Tinder had a huge problem with this, with stalkers and what's called trilateration. Like programmatically, like if I emulated a phone, I can make it so that way my location is jumping around. And so if I am 20 feet from somebody at this point, and I'm 15 feet from him at this point, and I'm 10 feet from him at this point, you're kind of able to zero in on
triangulate it.
Yeah. I think trilateration is the term, the nomenclature for that methodology. But there was a lot of countries that Grindr operated in where those features were completely disabled because it's just illegal to be gay. There was the death penalty, just for whoever, just for being gay. It's like it's insane. And so in those countries, we had nonprofit organizations that were boots on the ground that were going and kind of promoting different safety, like, don't show your face, meet in public places, just a lot of meat space type protections. But you had government agencies trying to entrap users of Grindr by emulating other gay people on the site, and they were talking, so they would converse with you and then they'd meet you and then they'd arrest you type stuff. And so it became this huge human safety issue that was really intense, like, because their lives are at stake. And I'm traditional libertarian guy, do what you want, I don't care, like, have fun, just don't like, just if it doesn't bother me, you're not infringing on me, then I don't give a shit what people do with their lives. And so just with that ethos, kind of carrying that into that sphere, it was just nuts. The real world stakes, I think, the lives were, in danger. And so something that we worked really, really hard to prevent. But then it was bought out by a Chinese company, and they released pretty much most of the staff that cared at one point. And what was nuts, I think I was only kept around for compliance reasons in some senses, but all of that data technically belonged to the company that bought them, who, most agencies or organizations within China are state owned. And so who knows I don't know to what extent, but I mean, they did buy the data, but I mean, there's a chance that they were looking for senators' dick pics and whatever else they could find in there and data mining it, which is a high possibility. But there was nothing I could really do about it, as far as, from my position. But I wound up, they wound up eventually getting rid of me. And then the U.S. government stepped in and actually forced them to sell to a U.S. company because of the national security risk. It was very strange.
Isn't it a little late?
It was a little
We'd
late.
like to buy all that data back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cat's out of the bag. Yeah. So maybe the data's a few years old, but it was one of the weirdest experiences.
What? Are we being serious here?
We're being serious here.
They sold the data, and then the U.S. government bought the data back, thinking that they didn't make a copy.
No, the U.S. government basically forced the company was called Kunlun. They forced them to sell back to an American-based company. It was a forced sale, and I forget there was some act that they had. We can edit this part out. The CFIUS, the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States, informed Kunlun that its ownership of Grindr was a national security risk. And so Kunlun didn't submit its acquisition of Grindr for review. And so then they basically unwound the sale. But I said by that time, they had access to everything if they wanted to. And you can imagine the amount of compromise that's in. I mean, there's a lot of people that are in the closet, till this day that don't admit that they're gay, and they're keeping it on the down low and stuff. And so, I know that Grindr was frequented by politicians and celebrities and stuff that probably wouldn't want that information to be out there. But yeah, all that data basically, went somewhere where we couldn't control it.
Interesting.